Despite featuring already established characters, Marvel's Avengers wants to give players an almost limitless amount of ways to customize their iconic heroes. We already knew back from E3 that the game will put a big emphasis on character builds and skins, but it seems that it's going to go much deeper than that, and in a recent interview with Crystal Dynamics combat designer, it was revealed how much deeper those options really go, and it seems that fashion wars might very well end up being an important part of this game. There were already hints towards character customization in the trailer itself, and the studio has mentioned that they want players to have the freedom to build their own ideal heroes while still retaining the same Marvel feel for each one of them. So let's dive right in with the latest info, and also a quick shout out to Instant Gaming. This is a website where you can buy games at probably the cheapest prices you can find on the web, so if you're looking at some really high discounts, then check the links down in the description box. Now in Marvel's Avengers there are three main categories of character customization you can apply to your characters, and this of course includes skills, gear, as well as finally cosmetics. Though according to the interview we don't really have the official names for these categories, but these are pretty much the primary paths for that. On the subject of skills, each character is going to have a pretty in-depth skill tree that lets you customize abilities, upgrade them, as well as gaining new moves. There's a pretty robust moveset for each of the characters, and the skill tree layout is going to be quite distinct from one hero to another because not all characters fit the same mold according to the interview. So while one character has alternate combos, another character might have weaponization stuff, like in the case of the Hulk for example, and another example was given with Black Widow, which has her own martial arts moves, but she can also have and use guns, as well as her stealth mode and a pair of electrified batons. So this should give players a way to customize their playstyle over the course of the game, and Crystal Dynamics previously had to say that the same heroes could possibly end up looking and playing quite differently depending on the customization options that the players picked for them. It also raises the question if we're allowed to learn new combos as we progress through the story, or get to use different weapons along the way. So instead of Black Widow using her double pistols or SMGs, to pick something different, or for Iron Man to choose between different blasters, cannons, or rocket launchers and not just the same type of abilities. So it's really interesting to see exactly how deep this goes, but it does seem that Crystal Dynamics is aiming for a little bit more diversity than we expected. Now moving on, there's going to be the gear pieces, which provide active abilities, passive abilities, as well as attributes according to the interview, but has nothing to do with character appearances. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this sounds very familiar to the way gear works in Anthem, with characters having gear or component slots that provide different attacks, different passive effects, as well as stats depending on the item you equip, and they don't change your appearance, or at least not that much. That is pretty much separate from the skins themselves. So if you put a rocket launcher on your Javelin's handgear slot, you will see a rocket launcher, but it won't change the overall look of your Javelin. That is pretty much what you do with the armor slots, and these gear pieces do provide new abilities. But in the case of Marvel's Avengers, it does sound like these gear pieces are going to play alongside your actual skill tree, which is rather interesting because it also means that it's going to be much more advanced than what Anthem currently has. So it could be very well that skill trees provide the base movesets and major attacks, while gear pieces provide some sort of gadgets or further enhance your combat abilities. For now it sounds like both skill trees and gear provide new abilities, so it's interesting to see which one of these have different roles, like which one of them are the major ones and which one of them are the less important ones. This of course brings us to the third and final option, and that is of course all about the aesthetics of the characters. This essentially boils down to character skins and armor according to the interview, and possibly even emotes to a previous interview, although there's probably going to be more than that. Since many of the Marvel heroes and characters have so many skins designed over the years throughout the comics, the movies and the cartoons, Crystal Dynamics has a really awesome opportunity here to make some really awesome fashion wars designed for this game and really give players a chance to make their characters as unique as possible and go for the looks they desire. There was an example given about Captain America having so many versions in the lore, and even within these options, Crystal Dynamics wants to bring us additional customization for those skins, including of course things like changing color schemes, but there might be more than this. We even had a brief example in the trailer itself with Iron Man having a skin that was colored mostly white with slight accents of black and gold. So each character in the game is planned to have multiple skins inspired from the Marvel history and universe, but also there's Crystal Dynamics' own original versions of those characters and those armor sets or skins, like for example for Thor and Captain America. So by the looks of it, this sounds like skins themselves don't have stats on them at all. They are just visual appearances that you can apply on your character, which means that stats and looks are going to be a separate thing. This also means that it's easier for you to look exactly how you like without sacrificing the best stats you can possibly find or the best gear pieces and so on. But of course this also now raises the question, will there be a mix and match of sets with one another, or are they pretty much complete pieces? Like for example combining the chest piece of a certain skin or armor with the head and arms of another skin or armor. That would be really interesting. It could be very well that Crystal Dynamics could develop full body skins that you can't really break down and mix and match, but this also doesn't exclude they could make individual pieces for each skin interchangeable. Now the question of course that is probably on everybody's minds is how much of these skins are going to be monetizable versus obtainable in game. Crystal Dynamics already announced there's not going to be any pay to win mechanics or loot boxes in Marvel's Avengers, which means they're going to have to get money from somewhere else, which pretty much leaves us with microtransactions, or better yet, in-game skin shops where players can purchase new skins and emotes according to an early brief that we had with the game. And this is where I would also bet my money on. They will most probably sell at least some of the skins on whatever version of the premium shop they might have in the game, as the game is said to be a live service game. Hopefully this doesn't mean all the new skins will be exclusive to the in-game shop and leave at least some of the options as rewards obtainable in-game via in-game means or from challenges. They did mention that all of the new characters and zones introduced after the game's launch will be free for everybody, so I'm inclined to say that the vast majority of the skins will most probably be premium shop exclusives, though I will be gladly wrong on that one. If they go with that route, then they really need to take a close attention into Anthem's own backyard. Anthem sells 100% of its armors on the vanity store, so what Crystal Dynamics could pull without angering too many people would be either by selling these skins at cheaper prices or by providing a good mix of obtaining skins both via in-game means, not just with real-world money. It was also announced that Marvel's Avengers will have new content coming for years after launch, with a live service plan that runs over the course of multiple years, which again reinforces the idea of customization options being the main source of revenue for the company, outside of course the initial price point. This does sound like a more fair option, especially so with the post-launch content and characters being free for all players, and this should give us all the chance to all have access to the same type of content with a level playing field. And for those who want to look different, who want to feel different, they can pay extra money on the in-game shop without actually having any pay to win options over there, so it's still fair for everybody to play, even if they spend a lot of money or not at all. Again, as long as the game isn't shipped out the window incomplete just to monetize its remaining bits later on, I think it's going to end up well, or at least better than other similar games who pretty much screwed up at their launch. And seeing how Square Enix doesn't have that big of a history with scummy business practices, or at least not on the same level as other AAA companies, I'm willing to at least give them the benefit of the doubt for now and look towards the new game in a more positive and optimistic, yet still quite cautious way. In any case, I'm willing to bet that if the core gameplay is good enough, there's not going to be that much anger coming from the community, and if the game is feature rich and complete, there shouldn't be too many complaints about what the in-game store is going to have. In the end, I do understand that these companies have to make money somehow, but it all depends on how they implement all of these in their games. Anyway, on a final note, Crystal Dynamics head of studio Scott Amos revealed that Marvel's Avengers is their biggest game yet, and it's been in the works for years, and it involves 5 studios working together to pull this off all around the globe, and it also employs people who worked on other very successful games like The Last of Us, Halo, as well as most recently the combat designer for the most recent God of War game. So it all sounds very exciting. Also the gameplay I saw was really exciting, and I really hope this all works up well in the end. It's a game that sounds like a cool concept, it sounds very promising, and it could leave a mark on the gaming industry in a very positive way if it's done right. But of course this is all I have for now. Tell me what you guys think of this down below. And how would you prefer character skins to be handled in Marvel's Avengers? Comment your opinion down below. Also, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed these. Also, subscribe for more awesome content and activate that notification bell, and I will see you guys later. So peace out.